Hello, welcome to the channel and welcome back to Resurwreck Autos HQ. So today, guys, we are finally going to be putting the pistons back into the block. Start, or the opposite now of what we did. We should, fingers crossed, this is the good bit, but I've got to be honest, I have taken the other head that I showed you yesterday. That is at the machine shop. He did say looks much better, and even the actual the piston, not the pistons, the valves here, even those valves look incredibly great. Look at that. Look, there's a little bit of carbon on them. You could expect that, but they just look like brand new. Look at the tips. Really good condition. So definitely that head was definitely a low mileage head. So that's good news. But I want to start reassembly. So yeah, I want to clean that head off, a little bit of sandpaper on top of the head, clean it all off, and then I've been shown how to do these pistons. We're going to do one at a time. I'm going to take my time, just make sure, check. I'll show you how to do it, because there is a method and a process of how to put those rings back into the pistons, and in which order and which way. The direction of the actual piston is crucial as well. There's an arrow on the actual piston themselves. So yeah, it's reassembly time. Because I'm waiting for the head to come back, we can do the bottom end and get everything sort of as far as I can. I want to put everything back together. But yeah, first things first, let's get those pistons in, set, so they're done, and then we can move on from there. So I'll explain quickly with one of them, and then we'll just set you up on a tripod, time lapse. Let's do this. Right, okay, so let me explain quickly with one of them that I've already put together, which is this one here. So they've all been put in. On each piston, you've got one of them rings, two of them rings, and one of them rings, which is the spring. And basically, with the spring, you've got one like that, and then you've got one of these that sits at the bottom of it, underneath it, like that, and then another one sits on top of it and holds it, a bit like a sandwich. So you're kind of sandwiching that, and that sits in a channel. So that's one, and then that one and that one. This is the top one, and this is the bottom one. And there's a certain way that they go around as well. So you've got to make sure that there's like a little lip that you can tell which way they go. So they've all been put in the right order. They've been so that they go in on top of the piston like this. And yeah, you just got to make sure that the actual gap. So you see that there's that ring at the top here. There's a gap there. See that gap? And there's another ring, but the gap is on the opposite side, so you can see it there. So that it's always like opposite. And then on the spring, you've got two rings. So there's a joint, there's a cut there, and on the other side, opposite side, is there. Just show it. So yeah. So basically, with the pistons, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, so all four have to be opposite. So you've got one this side, one that side, one that side, one that side. So there's always, like, especially obviously because of the compression, and it pulls down, up and down movement. You always want the joint on the actual rings, piston rings. You want that joint on opposite ways, if you know what I mean. So yeah. So I need to set. I need to put all these back in. I put all these into the pistons. So we'll do that. I'm going to clean this head off with a bit of sandpaper, because I've got this long block here. So we're going to use this just to go. Just give it a light rubbing over like this, and then a few cross actions as well, going like this. And then that should be that done. Wipe it off. Before you put any pistons in, obviously you've got to make sure you put some oil on around the, you know, inside of the bores. And the other thing as well is that these pistons have an arrow. So if you can see, let me show you the arrow. So can you see that arrow there? So the arrow is pointing this way. Can you see that? It's pointing this way. That basically means it has to point towards the timing. So this is timing end. This is cylinder 1. So it'll go, see that arrow there? It's pointing that way. So you can't have it that way, if you know what I mean, and pointing away from timing. Every piston has got to be pointing towards the timing. So yes, it's not as straightforward as I thought. I've got to be honest. There's a lot to it. So yeah, there's another arrow there. It's really hard to see. It's not really a. Yeah, they're all pointing that way. So you got that's a bit better. Look, so it's an arrow and it's pointing that way. So that's the way it sits in, pointing towards timing. So yeah, the other thing as well, we've got to take these caps off, clean, obviously with a real nice clean cloth. Then put the caps back in, and then clean both sides. And then just before we put them inside, we've got to put a bit of oil in there, bit of oil on that, and then put the cap on. And then we'll do it up loosely, and then we'll find out the torque settings for these bolts. And then that should be the pistons in the block, set, done. Yeah. So let's let me just set you up. Let's get these all in place, because if they turn a little bit, you can spin these rings do spin a little bit, and you can turn them. So you just, before the final position, just make sure, you know, the gaps are opposites, opposite ends. Like that one's, like I said to you, that one's that end, and then the other side is that end. So yeah, you just turn it around a little bit. There you go. Look, turned it around a little bit, position it right, and then you've got like a special clamp device, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. I've never done it before. And you put it over. You put the piston with the rod inside the block, so it hits this. We'll do it sideways. We won't do it on top like this. And then, yeah, and then you put the piston in. Then put the clamp thing around it. Clamp it up. Knock it down. Put the cap on the other side. Put the bolts on, and then that's one piston done. It sounds a lot quicker than what it is. It's going to take some time. I want to be really careful. I'm going to double check all the time as I go. So bear with me. This might take a bit of time, but I want to make sure this is right. So let me set you up. Let's get these set, get that cleaned, and then we can move on. Let's do this. Right, okay, so that's the the block ready, all nice and clean and shiny. I just put like a 240 grit sandpaper with a block, and then just going backs and forwards, and then I cross hatched it as well, just to make sure, and then put these dowels back in place, each side on the block, and then I've put it at this angle, because I just think that if the engine's like straight up and you're trying to put the pistons down, it's difficult to see underneath to try and get that cap there. As you put it through, then you put the cap over there to do it up. And I thought, if I've got this at an angle, at least then I can sort of, hold it here, push it through, and then hold it on the side, put the cap over, and I can actually see it. But if the engine is upside down, I've really got to get underneath the engine to see it. So yeah, I've only done that just to help. I think it's going to help out a little bit to get them capped up and positioned right. But yeah, got to put a little bit of oil. I'm going to put I don't know, I've seen loads of videos about how to do this, and I am getting some people messaging me about how to do it as well, which is great. I really appreciate it. But there's so many different ways that people are saying doing it. And I'm just I've never done this before. I've got to say, I've never done this before. So I'm going to copy a few things that I've seen, a few things that people are saying. The most important thing is you've got to get these the right way round. These rings actually there's a face that they have to face up, and then the position of the actual, like I said to you, there's an arrow there. So as this let's just say we're doing this one. This is the timing end, because that's where the chain goes, and that's where the arrow is. So what you'll do is you'd go in like that. That's what you'll do. But these got to be gapped correctly as well. So, and obviously these actual piston rings, they do actually move. Once it's in the engine, they do spin around and move. But if you start off, getting them gapped the correct way to begin with, yeah, it seems like the best solution to do. So I'm going to put I'm going to get an oil can, and I'm just going to squirt a little bit of oil on the bottom of this, a little bit of oil on here as well. But first of all, I'm going to take these out, and I'm going to clean them off to make sure there's no debris between the actual I can't, my mind is gone, it's blank. I can't remember these things, right? I'm gonna take these off, and I'm gonna clean behind, then a little bit of oil, then put them back, then oil. I'm gonna put oil all around these rings as well, a little bit on this face here, and a little bit on that face there, and then just coat them up as best I can, because that's only going to help. A little bit of oil in the bores as well, just put, get some oil in there as well, so it helps when you're pushing it down, just to kind of lubricate, metal touching metal kind of thing. You don't want any scratching, you don't want anything that's going to cause any issues. So yeah, that's where I am, guys. Just thought I'd quickly show you that. Let's carry on and let's get these installed. Let's do this. Right, okay. So guys, there we go. The pistons are in place and really nice and smooth. No issues, no dragging, no scratching. Don't hear nothing. It's really cool. So I think that part is done. But we've now got to do up the actual caps underneath the pistons. You've got a cap on the bottom now, and they need to be torqued up to a specific settings. So let me show you the settings that we need to do for that. Every process of this has got a section of what needs to be done. So this is the caps that I was talking about, and they've got to be done up, those bolts. And it tells you the specifications. So at stages, stage 1, 10 Newton meters, but it then stage 2, loosen. I think that's because this is for new bolts, and we're reusing the old ones. There's no need to do reuse. There's no need to change the bolts on these, I've been told. So I'm listening to what he's saying, and I'm going to be doing that. And then stage 3, 29, and then 90 degrees. So yeah, I've got this torque wrench snap-on. It's digital as well. So you just set it up. It's the 100th year edition snap-on torque wrench, and you just set it up. It even gives you the actual 90 degrees as well. So you set your torque, so it's 10 Newton meters, so that's stage 1, and then we'll swap it up to 29, and then you go to that, and it gives you the angle on the actual point as well. So you set what angle you want, and then you click away, and the lights flash to say it's in green, amber up to green, and that's good. So yeah, this is what we're going to be using now on this. But yeah, it's a great bit of kit that what it is called eManuals, emanuals.com, I think it is. And I'm just in the middle of conversation with them. It tells you everything, guys. Look, every single spec that you can think of what needs to be done on the car, everything. It goes into so much detail. Any car, any make, any model, any year, and it gives you a breakdown of everything to do with stripping it right down to nothing and rebuilding it. It is incredible, this stuff. So yeah, that is what I'm using. I am in the middle of just talking to this company, to arrange to get, to give you guys a link so you can go to it and get, a good discount using eManuals. But for the moment, let's crack on and get those caps all torqued up. Let's do this. Right, okay. So guys, there you go. That is the caps, all tightened and bolted and torqued up to the correct settings. So the next thing I want to move on to is this balance shaft. And what they say is that you need to, if you take this off or renew it or change it or whatever, you need to get it top dead center, TDC, which is this pin here, goes there, and this actual balance something, whatever it is, goes against it, and then this means it's top dead center, so that the piston underneath will be flush at the top of the bore. And these pins here, I have marked them because I didn't want them to move. So you can see there's a little bit of Tipex there, and I've marked it to make sure it don't move in position when I take it off, take it out. But again, it's on the specs, on the specification. So let's come away from this and I'll show you. There you go. See the balance transfer, and you can see that there's the markings at the top. Look, 12 o'clock, they've got to stick up. So it shows you how to do it. There you go, there's the bolts, and there's the settings for the bolts. So 25 Newton meters and 42. And that's it, yeah. So you can see that's the pin that I was talking about, I was showing you. This thing is really incredible. Did I go into some detail? So yeah. And then it moves on to crankshaft seals, and just the depth that this goes into is it's just so much. Well, it even shows you that there's supposed to be a little ring there. That has to be changed, but we'll have to get one from Ford's. Oil filter housing, just everything step by step that I've taken off. It does. Even the sump, there we go. So you scrape it all off, and then you renew the sump on the gasket. There you go, scrape that off as well, and then put some mastic on, and then it tells you to tighten it up to, where's the bolts? Here we go, 20 Newton meters for the sump bolts, and it gives you an order as well. So look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it gives you the sequence of what you've got to do it up as well. It's really, really good information this is. So let's go back to the balance shaft information. Where was it? Up here. There it is. So there it is. Where is it? It's here. Right, okay, so yeah, these are the bolts that we need to do. So let's torque these down now. It actually tells you which numbers as well. So it's going, like, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to copy this diagram, copy the numbers, which one to do first. We'll get it to stage 1, stage 2, do all stage 1, all stage 2, and then that's it. The balance shaft transfer is set. So let's crack on. Let's get that part done. And yeah, let's just see how far we get today. Let's do this. Right, okay, so there we go, guys. The balance shaft is all done up, bolted up, torqued up to the right specs. And then the process continues. It's asking me to move on to the oil filter housing, which is probably right in front of me. It's right here, actually. Yeah, it is. So, yeah, it's asking me to move on to this. So we'll move on to that, get that done next. And yeah, continue moving along nicely with this. But before we carry on, guys, I just want to quickly show you what has come back from the machine shop. There we go. He said he's absolutely spot on. He completely cleaned it up. He has skimmed it to give us a nice face, but I don't know the specs of that in a minute. I'm going to see what it is because... hold on, let me just put it down like that so I can show you the other side. Yeah, nice. Look how clean it is inside there. So he's right cleaned it up for me. And most importantly is to do the actual test when it comes to in there. There's no damage, there's no issues. He said that is absolutely spot on there. So yeah, that is great news, guys. So the head cost me £300. It cost me about £75 in fuel to go up there and get it. And it's just cost me, well, and probably half a day as well. And this has just cost me £120 to have it completely checked, cleaned and skimmed. So I think that's great. I think that is a great success if this goes back together and works, and that's only if that's going to happen. Obviously, all the valves have all got to be now set back in, so they've got to be grounded down a little bit with a little bit of paste and set back into the actual piston gap. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that. I really don't know. I think I've actually got a tool for that as well somewhere. I'm sure I've got a tool for that somewhere. You put it on a little stick or something. There it is. Look. I told you I had one. So yeah, so you plunge that on the actual valve and you go backs and forwards, getting this on the bench flat. You go backs and forwards, a bit of paste, and it sort of sets it in. It takes a bit of time, but it needs to get done. And obviously a bit more, I suppose it's down to me, not down to them. Clean the old mastic off. So I'll do that. But yeah, great news, guys. It's back from the machine shop. So there we go. Another step forward and another... just there's stuff everywhere. Look at it. I've just got engine bits everywhere now. But I think we've turned a corner and we've turned in the right direction, and we've just got to rebuild it, put it all back together. And I'm just going to follow the specs as well. I'm going to go down, follow, the torque settings and all the bits and pieces you need to do on that. So that's what I'll do as well. But yeah, so far, so good. But guys, I've run out of time for today. That is going to be the end of today's video. We're definitely moving, like I said, in the right direction, definitely. But I'm really happy with the condition. I'm really happy with the way it's going. And it's just a case of now just putting it all back together. But it's going to take some time. It is going to take some time, guys. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop me a comment. Give the video a thumbs up. I really appreciate all the support, guys. And yeah, drop me a message on a comment. Anyone's got anything to say. But so far, so good. And that head, yeah, incredible. So that was well worth going for that head. All that way, it was. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.